Years ago, there was a freak tornado in London. And this is what happened. Hi there.
Hi.
What do you think of that? Can you see the picture? Yeah, I just turned my volume.
I think it's a building. It's a building. It's teared apart.
Yes, it's a building. It's torn apart. It's been torn apart.
Yeah, yeah.
The strange thing is, can you look in and see something in any of the rooms? Have a look inside the rooms.
Yes, it is like a living room, and it is a normal. It's a normal apartment. We can't call it apartment.
What can you see in the room?
I see a picture fixed on the wall.
I wouldn't call it an apartment, actually. Do you know why I wouldn't call it an apartment? Because an apartment is usually in a block.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is in a different kind of block. It's in a terraced block. Terraced houses. Do you know what I mean when I say terraced houses?
No, no.
Let me write that word. I hope I can write.
It is a kind of a block, you mean? It's a kind of a block.
Well, yeah, terraced houses are in a block. I mean, they're not completely separated. You know, there are different words for houses. If a house stands alone and there are no neighbouring houses touching the same building or part of the same building, then there's a word for this. Do you know the word?
No, I don't know.
Anybody know the word which describes a house which stands alone, maybe one residence for one family, and it's just stands alone, and the word means that it is not joined. Terraced is the word used to describe this joining of houses in a typical Victorian fashion like this. What word describes houses which are... You've got a lot of noise there. Can't see who it is, but Stone Lion. A lot of noise. Just be careful with the noise. So what is the word?
Abandon it.
Say again, Igor. Was
Abandon
that Igor?
it.
Abandoned?
Yes.
And abandoned might mean that nobody lives there.
Yes.
Abandoned luncheonette. Abandoned. No, it's not abandoned. I'm looking for a word which describes a house. So, what do they call people who sell houses? Usually they have websites and you can choose areas to search.
Perhaps estate?
Estate agents, yes. Because they're dealing with real estate. Estate, not states. Estate. So, estate agents. And they use words.
Detached. Detached could be.
Say again?
Detached.
Well, that is the word, but you didn't say it so that I could hear it the first time. So can you try and say it with the correct stress? And can everybody else hear the word? So don't write it, just say it again.
Detached.
What is he saying? I can hear now that he's saying the right word, but it's not the right stress pattern.
Detached.
Detached. Detached.
Detached.
Detached.
Detached. So this is not a detached house, this is a terraced house. And the words apartment or flat are used to describe accommodation in a big block, maybe where you live on different floors. Actually, it could be that this kind of property becomes flats, and this is typical today. But what needs to happen before we can call this house a flat? What is the key thing here before this can become an apartment or a flat?
It is because of the fleeting storm.
Because of what, sorry?
A fleeting storm.
Well, the storm is nothing to do with the names we give to the accommodation. So before we have the fleeting storm, I want to know what the difference is between apartments and flats. Let's say, first of all, apartment and flat is pretty much the same thing. Those two words don't really have much of a difference. Except that in England, people usually prefer flat. They don't say apartment so much as they often say flat, and in the US they hardly ever say flat, so they would say apartment. So
probably there are many apartments in a building.
Probably what, sorry?
There are many apartments in a building. To say,
yeah, and what are we calling the building here? Because the whole, are we saying the building is the whole terrace or just one part of it?
Okay, in the home.
Well, that's the key to it. So if a house is terraced,
Yes.
probably one family possess or own the whole of it, all of it. Now, sometimes in the past, there were areas of England which had quite big, rich houses, which have become split, converted into apartments. So the building is the same building, but because one family lives on one floor and another family on the next floor. Now, in England, what floor is the floor with the big hole in the side and you can see the white wall? What floor is that? Is it the ground floor or what do we call it? That floor?
The first one.
It's usually called the first floor here. In some countries it might be called the second floor, but often in London they would call that the first floor because it's the first floor above the ground floor. Okay, so let me speak to... I can't see people's names today. It's very strange. Everything changes. It seems some days I can't write in the verbling chat, and sometimes I can't hover my mouse and see people's names. Really don't know why. Okay, well, I can't see anybody's name at all. So, hello, who's that there? With the cat behind you. What's your name? Do you have a microphone?
Me?
Yeah, hello?
Hello, yeah. I'm with you. It's
okay, that's somebody else. You see, I'm having a problem here. Ahmed, I can see your picture when I click you.
Yeah.
And, but I can't see everybody's name today. Okay, Ahmed.
Yeah.
Can you describe the picture for us a moment?
I think it's apartment, and it is supposed to be to the fleeting storm. It is caused by the fleeting storm.
It has been caused by, yeah.
And it is torn apart by this fleeting storm and fall down all these fences and shut all the shutter windows like this.
Yeah, when something has happened and we're speaking about what caused it, that's a good time to use the present perfect. So you could say it was caused by, or you could say it has been caused by. Okay.
Yeah.
So what? Now, what do you think caused this then? A fleeting storm, you said.
Yeah.
And do you get storms like this in your country?
No, we don't have storms, and we have only flooding.
Flooding.
Yeah, flooding. Yes, flooding.
And where does the flooding come from?
It comes from the rainy weather.
And not the Nile.
Rainy weather.
Rain. So you get some heavy rains.
Heavy rains. Yes, that's right.
In England, we don't get heavy rains that much. Sometimes we have recently.
But I think in England there are so much heavy rains there because of its weather. It's so cloudy.
Well, actually, if you look on the world atlases and rainfall figures,
yeah,
I think people have. I think there's two myths about England, and I understand both of them. One of them is about rain, and one of them is about food, and both of them are myths in a sense. And yes, the one about rain comes from the fact that quite often, lots of the days have rain at some point.
Yeah.
So there's.
But I want to ask why the rain in London it is not caused the flooding.
Because it's not so big. You know, the rainfall figures in lots of places in the world are more than 10 times England. So,
yeah.
you know, if you want to speak about... It makes me laugh sometimes because people from, let's say, Burma, I'm just picking on Burma now, will say, oh, it's always lots of rain in England. But you have a look in the atlas and you'll see that there are some places where it really rains.
That is a stereotype image about London, I think.
Well, we have drizzle, and so there are sometimes when the rain sets in, it stays. It hangs around for 2 or 3 days, and it can be a bit depressing. But it's not there all the time, and I think we get the reputation. And it's not so much London actually; it's the west of the country. Some parts in the west, Manchester, Bristol, they can be much wetter.
Wales,
yes.
Yeah.
But then again, the rain is good because. Would you like to live in a country where there's no rain?
I like the rainy weather because I feel that as I'm living in London.
I feel that as well. I think if it rains a lot for day after day and there's some kind of rain called drizzle, then it can be depressing. But I think rain is life. And that's why we have a green country with so much agriculture. Agriculture here is fantastic.
And also it is a mercy from the God. I think it's, if we want to take it from another side, from the religion side.
Fly over England and then fly over North Africa and you can see a big difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so...
I want to add something. Also, the moods of the human being is affected by the weather, by the cloudy weather or rainy weather.
Yeah.
Because some people want to be so sad in the cloudy weather, or they said it is expressed the depression in the life.
Yeah, so I've experienced this sometimes because one of the problems is that sometimes when the rain comes in, not here where I live in Canterbury area, and we live in Canterbury is that part of England which points towards France from London.
Yeah.
And so we have coastal areas, north, south, and east of us. Only west is London. So we don't have far to go to the coast. So the weather is always changing here. And not far from here is where Turner painted
changing dramatically.
Quite dramatically, yes. And so we don't get this situation where the rain stays for weeks and weeks. It stays for 2 or 3 days at the most, if we're unlucky. Okay, so could you... Well, let me ask somebody else because we've had a good chat here and I would like to see if somebody else is here. But I don't know everyone's name and I can't find their names. I can remember people like Raphael is here. But who is this here? Hello? Who's there? Hello?
Hi. Hi.
Yeah, hi there. Can you see the screen there? I mean, when I put my text back on the screen, can you see it there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Sorry, what's your name? I can't see your name now.
My name is David.
David. Okay, I'll try and remember, but it's hard to remember everybody, and I usually hover my mouse and see the names, but today I can't. So could you just begin reading the first part?
First pass. Okay. A freak tornado ripped through a residential area of the capital today, tearing apart buildings and injuring 6 people. The fleeting storm ripped tiles.
David, are you still reading? Because I've lost your sound.
Pardon?
Okay,
Pardon?
you're back, but you started breaking a bit there, breaking. So I heard the first sentence, injuring 6 people. But let me just say about the first sentence, and then I'd ask you for the second sentence. The first sentence, I want you to check the pronunciation of some words, because in English we say tornado. Tornado, not tornado, but tornado, like train, tornado. A freak tornado ripped through a residential area of the capital today, tearing apart buildings and injuring 6 people. Can you read the second sentence?
The fleeting storm ripped tiles of roofs, pulled down fences and shattered windows. I can see the text.
Okay, let me make it a bit bigger still.
Okay.
Let me move it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better now.
And shattered windows as it hit Kensal Rise in northwest London at 11 a.m. this morning.
Okay, so I want everyone to tell me which two words are very close in meaning.
I will. Maybe it's ripped and tearing.
Ripped, yeah, ripped. Jack the Ripper. Ripped and tear.
Ripped and tear.
And tear. Now, which of those two words do you think, rip or tear? Which of those two words is often most violent or most aggressive in the action?
It's like breaking down something like this.
You can do it to a piece of paper. You can rip or tear a piece of paper.
Yeah.
But if you had something in the post and it had a dotted line, would it ask you to rip or tear? Which of those would it?
Ripped.
Ripped.
Well, if you get a piece of paper, a letter, and you have to tear off the bottom. Tear off. Yes, not rip off. Rip is a little bit more violent. Rip it up is a bit more aggressive. So tear off the bottom. Yeah. Which of these words speaks about where people live?
Can you say it again in other words?
There's one of these words in paragraph 1. We've got echo somewhere, so be careful.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. What's your echo, please?
Could be residential.
Yeah.
And northwest of London.
Remember that you can mute yourself on the top right and then unmute yourself very easily when you come to speak, and it's best if you're just waiting there to just mute yourself if you have a problem with sound. So which word describes places where people live?
It is a public residential.
A public what? Public
residential.
Yes, but a public residential is not a good expression because the word residential is actually what part of speech? Yeah. What part of speech is residential? Is it a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb?
It's adjective. Adjective.
Yeah.
Adjective. Describe the area. Describe the area.
So which word would you use with public? Is it a public what? Not residential, but you have to change it to residence or resident.
Resident. Oh, okay.
So there's two nouns there. Can you write them? Residence.
Residence.
Residence and resident.
Resident is the person who lives in the residential area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want everybody in the chat to give me as many parts of speech, as many words that they can, based on resident. So we've got residence, residential, and resident. We've got 3. How many can we do? Residence is a place. My residence. I love my residence. Residential area. A resident lives in his residence in a residential area. Residential. Don't know that one. I'm thinking about residential. Fanfo, can you tell me a sentence with residential, because I can't quite put my head around that one.
I'm thinking, but I can.
It must be a noun, because shun words are nouns. And actually, I saw in the newspaper the other day a noun, vacation, used as a verb, and I didn't like it very much. It was never, 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 ever, ever vacation on a cruise. But I would always say take a vacation, because it's a noun if it ends in shun. So I don't like that form. But residential isn't really a good word. So let's try. Are there any others though? We've only got 3. We've got residence, resident, and residential.
Residential.
Maybe there aren't any more. Remember, you can put prefixes. Un. I don't think there can be an unresident or an unresidential. It doesn't make sense, does it? Residency. I'm not sure about the spelling there. Is that right? Residence. It looks like residency. Residency might be a good word. Okay, so we'll think about that next. So, next word. Which word is a word speaking about damage? Tell me all of the words which are referring to damage.
Maybe tearing apart.
Tearing, yes.
Tearing apart.
It could be damage or it could be deliberate. So damage usually means we don't like it because it's against what we wanted. So, but damage, so some words can be damage sometimes. So tearing apart buildings, here it is damaged, it's torn.
Yes.
So to tear,
Tear.
and the past is what?
So.
I tore it, yes. And it. So when I find the 3 forms of the verb, we can say present is used with frequency. So we can say every day. I tear paper every day. Yeah. And past simple is used with yesterday. So yesterday I tore some paper or paper. And then how can we write a sentence to show the 3rd form? Maybe a perfect tense.
Torn.
Yeah, so we would say make a present perfect sentence with the 3rd form.
I have torn the paper. I have torn.
That's right. So put have. I have torn the paper. Yeah. Okay, so we've got rip, tear, injure. Injury is a special kind of damage word. Why is injury the odd one out? Why is it different to the others?
Because there is equalization. We have tearing apart, and we should put after and also ing, injuring.
Yeah, but what's different about the word to injure, to tear, to rip?
Injure is verb. Injure is verb.
Yeah, and the others, to rip is a verb, to tear is a verb, to shatter. Yeah. So I'm using verbs, but there's a difference.
Is for people.
People, yeah, that's what I meant, people. Right, now what I'd like to do, before we go to look at the words, I want to find as many words related to damage as possible. So we have got so far rip, we have got tear, we have got injure. I would like the verb forms, and we've got shatter. What kind of things shatter?
It's shatter of windows. It is related. It can be attached to the windows.
What kind of material? What is the property of a material which shatters?
Wood.
Wood can shatter, but it has to be what? A word beginning with B. Glass shatters, yes. And but everything that is something shatters. So rubber can't shatter because it's not this. What is the B word for these kind of things? Even iron can be like this. Steel is less so. What is a B word which describes a material which can easily shatter?
Crystal. Could be crystal.
Again, you've got the word, but it sounded like Bristol City, but you don't get the pronunciation, Raphael. So it is brittle. Brittle.
Can you write it down?
Somebody else can write it down. Brittle.
Oh.
Brittle. And now, while we're waiting for that word, brittle, I would like you to think about other words which describe damage. Can you give me some more words which speak about damage? Any kind.
Pull down.
Okay, let me help you with it.
I can say the fleeting storm right.
Destroy. I got destroy. Okay, destroy. That's definitely damage.
Wreck.
Destroy. Wreck.
Break.
Let's write these words down too. Don't let me do all the writing, please. So break is a kind of a general word. Yes, break.
Harm could be.
Harm. Yes. Come to harm. I hope no harm comes to you.
Thank you.
Any more then? I will play if you don't help me then. I'm going to do some myself. Snap. Now I'm not sure that that's a very good one, but I'll put it down anyway.
Crack, maybe.
Crush.
Crush.
Okay, I need some more. Squash.
Smash.
Smash.
Your part.
Tear apart.
Your
Got
part.
that one.
Your part could be.
Jeopardize is to
Jeopardize.
put in danger. Jeopardize. So there isn't a jeopard, but jeopardize. That's not really damage. That's put at risk. So nothing has actually happened yet. So that one stays out. Right, let me have a look then. I'm going to open a page which I've done about damage. How many words do you know that describe damage? So let me have a look at it. Here we go. So words describing damage. Let me make sure it's on the screen. Yes, it is. We've got words that describe damage. The egg has been what?
I think the egg has been smashed. Is better.
No, it hasn't been smashed, has it? It's not scrambled or it's not really broken. No, it's been. Sometimes this can happen to a window. If there's a broken window, the word broken is too general. It doesn't really describe much, except that something has maybe is not working or something has happened to it. It's damaged, but it doesn't describe it very much. So broken is a bit like nice, or it doesn't really tell us such a lot about it. So the egg has been a C word I want.
Crushed?
Crushed is too severe. If something is crushed, it's like one of those cars which is no
Collide.
longer.
With the cars, we
It's
use the
crushed
word
into a small cube of metal, crushed with a crusher. So a Coke can can be squashed into a tiny little space, crushed. You can crush a grape in your hand. It's all just completely squashed into nothing. So this is cracked.
Crack.
Now, where else can you see cracks and use the word crack?
Like the glass of the car.
Yes, a windscreen can be cracked. And sometimes the surface of the earth can be cracked. I can think of two ways that that could happen. Who can think of how the surface of the earth could be cracked? See if you can think of two ways that are similar to mine, or maybe not. How can the earth be cracked?
By earthquake.
An earthquake can crack the surface, yes. But also, I've seen cracks much smaller cracks on a very small scale, maybe when there's a drought. Have you ever seen this kind of cracking?
Yes.
And what am I talking about then? Can you describe it to me?
Yes, it's happened to soil when it hasn't rained for a long of time.
Yes, sometimes you see it on a dried riverbed, especially if the soil is a kind of clay soil. Clay, do you know clay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so good one. Okay, now look, the bonnet of the red car. Bonnet is the front of the car, and usually in England we don't call it a trunk at the back. We call it, what do we call it? The back of the car where we open it up and put our suitcases in. It has a name, something like related to footwear and the Duke of Wellington. What's the name for the back of a car? A boot, or a trunk, but a boot, quite common in England. So the bonnet of the red car has been... Now, if you don't know the words, you could describe it to me. Who can describe the damage done to the front of this car? Has it been crushed? Not really, because the damage isn't... If you crush something, the damage is a lot more severe. It's been... Maybe it's less than crushed. The surface has been changed and pressed in a bit. If the surface of something is pushed in, you can do this if you strike something like your Coke can with a pencil or something and make a pushed in part. What is that?
To blow would be?
It begins with D, and it's a very small word, and it can mean some kind of damage. Actually, it could be made. These little holes could here's a big clue for you, because these little holes could be made by your teeth. So the word is related to teeth.
Cracked?
There's no crack, because a crack is like we described on the egg, and there is no...
I can't say I cracked my teeth when I fell down.
Yes, but I'm not speaking about damage to your teeth. I'm speaking about I'm speaking about the kind of hot. Imagine you bite something very hard, like a paper plate. You're crazy. You put the paper plate in your mouth and bite it, but you can't bite. You don't bite through. You don't tear it. You make holes, pushed holes into it, but not through. The holes don't actually pierce. They don't pierce.
Bitten?
Okay, so who do you go to visit if you have a toothache and your appointment is at 2:30? Who do you go to visit? Not a doctor, but who do you go to visit? If you have a toothache.
Dentist.
Yeah. And so that's the word which is related to teeth, which describes this kind of damage. So what's my word?
Decay.
Well, decay is another damage word which will go in the book. Thank you very much. But you're looking more for damage related to teeth. I'm just looking at that word dentist. Dent. Dent. D-E-N-T. To dent something. It's something that you do. You can press a hole in it without breaking, but just changing the shape. To dent something. All right. Dented, yes. Dent. It is dented. So, just to make sure, because it looks like that's a new word for a lot of people, maybe. I don't know.
Teacher, can I say my cloth is dented by the blood?
No, because that's tainted or stained.
Yeah, the stained. Yeah, oh, sorry. Thank you.
Stained or tainted.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
So that would be a kind of damage too. So you can actually damage something just by colour, really, can't you, with clothes?
Yeah.
But so can anyone give me some examples of dented then? We don't seem to have this word under our belts quite well. So dented things. Tell me some dented things, please.
I've dented my laptop.
Okay, tell me more, because I don't know whether you've crushed it, smashed it, thrown it out the window. So what's happened? Tell me a bit more, please. Just so that I know that you're on track with dent. Dent. How do you dent your laptop? I think you could dent your screen by accidentally pointing at something on the screen, and your pencil hit the screen really hard, and there's a little tiny dent. Is that the dent you're talking about? I don't know. So dent. Any other dents here?
No, dents is caused the plastic. I don't mean the monitor.
The plastic of the body. Yeah.
Yes,
So
to cover the body of the laptop, so it can be dented.
when it's dented, it can't return to its shape because it's exceeded its elastic limit. Everything has a kind of elasticity. Unless it's glass or it's very brittle. So this elasticity, flexible quality, allows it to be dented. I don't think rubber can be dented very easily, because by the time you exceed the elasticity or the elastic limit, it just tears. But some metal can be dented. So tell me, what kind of material can be dented? Dent his reputation, yes. So you can use these words figuratively.
Steel, aluminium could be dented.
Dented, yeah. Metal is really a good one for denting. Yes, so metal is a good one for denting. Okay, so now the drink can. If I say this drink can has been dented, the policeman who's investigating this horrible crime would think, what are you crying about? There's no problem if he's just dented it. But I'm underestimating it. It's not dented, is it? It's what?
Smashed?
Well, it's not smashed because it's not in pieces, is it? We usually it's smashed to pieces, smashed to smithereens. Smashed is breaking into little pieces, but this isn't really. It's all in one piece. It's crushed. Crushed. Notice that some of these can be used in sport. So some of these words can be used if you beat the other team. We can crush them. What else can we do?
Smash.
Smashed, yes. You can be smashed in some games. You can be crushed.
Dented.
I don't think you can be dented, though. You know, I think if I'm playing chess against somebody, I can say, I really smashed him. I crushed him with this attack, but I can't dent him. So some of them can be used in sport. Let's crushed can. So this one's crushed. Now we have a special word coming up for this clavicle. Look, it's a clavicle, collarbone. And it has been what? It's a medical term for a broken bone. not broken. It's not really crushed, because it would have to be in powder, I think. If you crush bone, it would have to be like crushing seed. It would be powdered. So what has happened to this clavicle or this collarbone? Fractured. It has been fractured. Yes, Hazel. Moving on, we've got the paper in this basket has been put through the you can't really see it, but it's all in little shreds, and it's I've said the word as a noun. What's the verb?
Smash it.
No, and you have to say smashed. This afternoon I'm going to do a lesson to revise again the pronunciation of regular verbs. Shredded, shredded. It's been put through the shredder. I hope, Hipfed, that you never get put through the shredder, because I can tell you it's not an experience that you will treasure. You don't want to be put through the shredder. Somebody tried to do it to me the other day, but I didn't take too kindly to that. It hasn't happened yet. Good. I'm glad to hear it. So let's have a look at the next one. This is a skateboard. Now, you probably can't see the surface, but someone's got something like a sharp object and they've just rubbed it on it. Sometimes you can do it with your fingernails to somebody's face if you're really feeling angry with somebody.
Scratch.
Scratched, 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 yes. The skateboard has been scratched. The yellow car has been what?
Bonnet.
It's burnt, burnt,
Burnt.
burnt. Burned or burnt? Yes, you can say either. I say burnt as an irregular kind of verb. So in England we have irregular past for those verbs where the pronunciation ending is t, like burnt, and we want to be sure that it's always t. Burnt, burned, burn. We don't say burned, we say burnt.
Yeah.
Now this metal tube is not damaged. Listen to that word, damaged. Not damage or it's damaged. The metal tube is not damaged. It was deliberately what? Made so that it's turning round and it's not straight. What's the word?
Bendit?
Bent, yes. Bent. Bended. Bent. Bent.
Bent.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is a bent copper? Does anybody know?
Bent copper.
It's not a penny that's been twisted out of shape. What is a bent copper? A bent copper is not a penny which has been twisted out of all shape. It is a corrupt what? A corrupt police officer.
Ah, cop.
A corrupt police officer is a bent copper. Okay. Sometimes we say something like, he's a very dishonest person. He's as bent as a 9-bob note. And that's a 9. That doesn't exist. There's no such thing as this money. And so bent can be not straight. Straight is honest. He's as straight as a what? He is very honest. He's as straight as a
tooth.
Straight as a tooth? Don't know that one, but I know straight as a die. You know, like an honest games dice. Usually we say dice. Straight as a die. That's what we say sometimes. Let's have a look at the next word. Cut, cut, cut. That's to show the three forms. I often cut my bread. There, I cut my bread. I have cut you a piece of bread. Chip. Chip, not fish and chips. If something is chipped, then what's happened to it? Sometimes when I look at... I'll tell you how I do it quite often. Let me show you. Well, I have to stop screen sharing. Yeah, I'll show you what I do. I've got this. And I quickly rinse it out because it's got some tea in it. And I put it under the tap, quickly. Cling, it touches here. And then a little tiny piece comes out. That's chipped.
Good job.
So, fractured, we know. Scraped. What's the difference between scraped and scratched? A scratch is very narrow usually with a sharp point, but sometimes if two surfaces rub each other, and one is like sandpaper, then it's more scraped. Your shoes can be scuffed, a kind of scraping where you can see a mark on your shoes and you need to polish them again. Slashed. What would you slash something with? If you would slash something with a knife or a sword, slash. So a slash is like a deep cut.
Slash.
Slash. It's also slang for a boy going to the toilet, but that's a slang word. Slashing with a knife or a blade. Stretched. Can anyone tell me? Excuse me. Has anybody ever stretched? Have you ever stretched anything? Stretch. Yeah, but you know, sometimes it's not damage and sometimes it's damage. So when is it damage and when is it not damage? An elastic band can stretch, no problem. Doing, doing, doing. It's stretching. Stretchy Armstrong could have his arms one hand in New York and the other hand in Los Angeles, and he's still you just let go and badoing, he's back together again. He's not damaged. So has anybody ever stretched anybody or anything and damaged it? You can stretch yourself, but you don't. Hopefully you return to the same position. So it's all about damage or
stretch your muscle.
Yeah, but if you stretch it too much and it doesn't return to its original position, it's not stretched. It's more torn or sprained, a sprained ankle.
It doesn't exist stretching muscle because in
It
Italy.
does, but it's an exercise. If you stretch your muscles, it's just, oh, have a stretch.
Yes.
Oh. But it's not damage yet. If you've damaged them, then you've sprained your muscle or strained your muscle. But sometimes you can stretch your clothes too much and it's too stretched and it won't return to its proper shape. Now, we haven't got time now, so we have to leave the damage words. No, I don't think we added that many new ones today, maybe one or two. Decay is not on the list, so that can go in later. So now back to the tornado in London. So I'll read the first one again. A freak tornado ripped through a residential area of the capital today, tearing apart buildings and injuring 6 people. The fleeting storm ripped tiles off roofs, pulled down fences and shattered windows as it hit Kensal Rise in northwest London at 11 AM this morning. Note that roofs can be roofs or roofs. It's okay both ways. But some of the F words have to be VES in plural. So, for example, leaf and leaves must be VES, but roof can go both ways. So, what other kinds of area are there besides residential areas? Who can shout out an answer for me there? What other kinds of areas are there? Residential area, another word before area.
zone.
Commercial.
Geographical
Commercial area, industrial area, yes.
City areas.
City area, yeah. Urban area, maybe. Rural area. Okay. Number 2, which word is the odd one out? Rip, tear, shatter.
rip,
I'd go for another one because I think rip and tear are quite similar. Rip is just a touch more violent. Shatter is completely different. Shatter something into brittle into pieces. Rip and tear paper. Number 3. Which word is usually the most violent? Rip or tear?
Rip.
Rip. Yeah, Jack the Ripper. Shattered is a word describing damage. We've done that one. We've made a full list of vocabulary words. I shouldn't say vocabulary words. That's a bad habit. Vocabulary words, because what other kind of words are there? So, a list of words we've made. You see how you can copy bad habits in English? So, look at that. That's a twister. Whee. I've seen one of those in England, but as I was looking at it, with jaw dropped in amazement, it suddenly disappeared. Woo! Yeah, we do get... Do you know, this is very interesting, that the UK has more tornadoes than any other country in the world for the size of its country, for the area. But luckily, on the good side, they're never as big as those in Kansas. Have you seen those in Kansas? You know, when we show them our little twisters, they say, "Oh, you look at that, isn't it sweet?" They say, "Isn't that cute?" So we don't go and see Dorothy when they come. So, over in a flash. I want somebody to read over in a flash. Whoops, I did that mistake. I mustn't do it that way. I have to do it another way. Just a moment. Come back and get you. There. And now click there. And now click screen share again. And there and there. So it's back again. Now I have to click there. Okay, so I want to ask... Who's this at the end? Hello? I haven't seen you here before. Can you speak? Have you got the microphone?
Hello? Hello?
I can't see your name, sorry.
أمجد القدة. أمجد القدة.
Okay, she's not there, I think. Or she doesn't know I'm saying anything to her. Sorry, I can't see your names. Hello, who's this?
أمجد القدة from Syria.
Yeah, I can't see. I can't hear you either, so there's no... Alright, could you read it, please, then? From Syria. So let's get cracking. The first thing.
All over in a flash. The fair.
Yeah, when you say that word, the first, it's got to sound like bird. The first. So some people say that like fairest, like fair, like chair. Keep away from the chair and go to the bird. The first thing.
Okay. No.
Can you carry on reading there? Who can read for me?
The first thing they noticed was the sky turning black. Then came the howling wind.
Howling wind. Howling wind.
Howling
wind, yes.
In a few terrifying seconds, it gathered so much speed and power that nothing could stand in its way. Spiraling, funneling could suck up animals, glass, rubble, and debris.
Debris. This is pronounced without the S at the end, like a bit like in French. So debris.
Debris in what one witness described as a scene from.
Lost your sound now. Can you don't mute her when she's reading? I've lost you again. Okay. So, and debris in what one witness described as a scene from The Wizard of Oz. then it sent them raining down like lethal confetti over 10 or a dozen streets. I've got your sound back again now. Okay, that was a good reading. So remember funneling, funneling. In a kitchen, sometimes we fill bottles with a funnel. What is a funnel? Who knows? Has anybody used a funnel? Okay, number 3 here, the tornado. Who can read that one for me? The tornado was thought. Do we have a new reader today?
The tornado.
May I?
Yes, that's good, Raphael, because it's quite clear. Your sound is good, so please do.
The tornado was thought to have lasted less than a minute, but the gust in excess of 110 miles per hour left a trail of devastation along Chamberlain Road.
Okay, some things I would say. The number, I would put an "un" after the hundreds, like 110. 110, some people say that in America, but over here we teach 110, like fish and chips, 110 miles per hour. The tornado was thought to have lasted less than a minute, but the gusts, I didn't catch the "s" at the end, gust and gusts, a little bit different at the ending, gusts. The gusts in, you know, and the way to do it is to put the "s" with the "in." The gusts in excess of 110 miles per hour left a trail of devastation. There's a nice word, not on the list, devastated. I was devastated. I was completely devastated. Could be used to describe your mood. I was gutted. I was devastated along Chamberlain Road. Okay, so Raphael, I think you can finish off as well because your sound is so good. Could you read the rest?
Thank you. 15-year-old Gavin Driscoll was thrown against a shop window with so much force that it shattered, while local resident Ed Solomon thought it was the end of the world right here in Kensal Rise.
When you read the word world, try to get a nice sound, world, and shattered. Let's see if we can get the stress pattern on shattered, shattered, shattered. Can you say that?
Shattered, shattered.
Yeah, that's it. Shattered, shattered. Yeah. I think I heard an extra syllable when you read it, like shattered, but shattered. So 15-year-old Gavin Driscoll, his name's Gavin actually, Gavin is the name. Gavin Driscoll was thrown against a shop window with so much force that it shattered, while local resident Ed Solomons thought it was the end of the world right here in Kensal Rise. Okay, so let's just check we know these words. There we go. Break, cut, chip, damage, fractured, smash, scraped, devastated, scratched, scuffed, slashed, shredded, stretched, squashed, ripped, and some more. If anybody can give me some that I haven't got, then I will add them to my collection. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it then. That's it for today. Come back later. I've got one lesson later today, and then a chess game after that in the evening. So hope to see some people later today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Raphael. Thanks all. See you later.